We're actually teaching our children coping skills, by the way, how we cope in life. What we do in life, we are teaching them. And it's not by telling them, because we can tell them all day long, eat right, do great, be respectful, be honest, clean your room, do all those things. But they're not going to just do it. They learn by us showing them how to do these things and what to do.
Welcome back to another episode of Till the Wheels Fall Off. I'm Matt.
I'm Paige.
We're talking about parenting today. And as parents, how much of our behavior do our kids actually notice? And at what different ages do they start to pick up on this stuff? I think that it's every parent's greatest fear that your worst attributes will be picked up by your kids. I know that was true for us and true for me especially, given that I'd been through addiction and picked up a lot of maladaptive coping skills. My God, my biggest fear was that my kids would pick up on some of these things and they would carry some of my bad habits. And we're going to talk about what we can do as parents to change that. What can we do? What can we start to pay attention to? What are some of the patterns that we have that our kids will absolutely pick up on? And how do we create agency to make changes where we would like to? So it's kind of a tough episode. I think this is going to be one that a lot of people, it kind of stabs in the gut a little bit. But it's a necessary conversation. This is not something that you can avoid. This is not something you can just ignore. We've talked in the past, we've had several episodes about the importance of giving our children the best possible circumstances to succeed, and how sometimes that means getting away from someone who's incredibly abusive or explosive, taking control of your own responses and behaviors so that we can ensure that our children know how to respond healthily, that they understand what healthy dynamics are in a relationship. Guys, it starts with us. And so we're going to have a come to Jesus talk about this today, about what we can do, what we should be looking out for, and what we can change moving forward. This is a good one. I'm looking forward to this.
Yeah.
Very relevant right now.
How did this come to light?
All right. So I'm not coaching basketball, but I'm involved in all of our kids' sports.
No coaching basketball for you.
Coaching enough stuff, but we were at a basketball practice, and I'm sitting there and I'm watching our son during just like warm-up drills. They're playing knockout. You've never played the game knockout. It's a blast. It's fun. I suggest it. But anyway, they're playing knockout, and it didn't matter if he missed a shot. It didn't matter if he made a shot. The very first thing that he did was look around at me. He would find me. We would lock eyes, and he was looking for, I was like the emotional thermostat in the room. How should I respond based on what dad's reaction is? So if he makes a bad pass or something like that, he's looking up at me, and what he's reading on my face is, it's okay, man, next play, let it go. No big deal. If he makes a good shot, we're looking at each other and we grin and we smile, but he looked at me immediately. He wasn't looking at his coaches. He wasn't looking at his teammates or his other classmates. He was looking at me. And this is true. I've recognized this in our kids all the time. No matter what they're doing, they can be in a room full of people that they should be listening to, but they're going to look at us.
I think that you as a dad picking up on that is actually huge, because as a mom, I have the instincts of knowing that my energy and the way that I show up and I'm around my kids, and they will look to me for things. Like, I know that it's there. I feel like this was kind of a new thing for you in a way, to recognize that, wow, holy crap. Like, my emotions, the way that I show up as a dad is so important in our children's lives.
Yeah, I think that this is probably lost on a lot of dads. The role of fathers has been changing rapidly here in the last 20 years even. And there's a lot more influence than we think we have on our kids.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And a lot of fathers have, I think, historically been kind of absent providers in a lot of ways. But as we get more involved, and we have to understand the impact that we have on our kids. And that moment was just a metaphor for everything that goes on in life. And so I started to journal. And as I'm thinking, I'm like, wow, okay, so that's just one moment, and that has to do with particular basketball practice. But what about whenever we're having arguments, and how I treat you and how I respond? What about whenever something stressful happens? Let's say that we have a blowout on the road, and how I respond to that, the way that I carry myself, the way that I show up for things that I don't want to do, like having discipline to like exercise or go to work or any of that stuff. Like, they are watching.
We're actually teaching our children coping skills, by the way, how we cope in life.
Yes.
What we do in life, we are teaching them. And it's not by telling them, because we can tell them all day long, eat right, do great, be respectful, be honest, clean your room, do all those things. But they're not going to just do it. They learn by us showing them how to do these things and what to do. that goes along with coping mechanisms too, because we can tell them and say, okay, go take a breather. You know, you don't need to be angry or aggressive about this. It's like, well, they're learning that from someone else. If they're doing that, they're typically learning that for someone else. I mean, it can come natural as well to be aggressive, but also they're learning how to respond based on how we respond.
Yeah, big time. Relationship dynamics may be some of the most important things that we teach our children. We will give them the basics for how they will operate in their marriage one day, how they're going to operate as they're dating, how they treat each other, how they respond, how they handle conflict. All of these things are set up by us. And so think about that. Take a moment and just think about the environment that your children are in right now and what they may be seeing. We can hope the best for our children. We can say, like Paige mentioned, like you can say whatever you want to them. You can give them all the best wishes in the world, but ultimately we are our patterns. We are the makeup of our patterns. And so ask yourself, what are my patterns? What are my patterns with my husband or my wife in our home?
We're going to go through just a few basics. Like we're going to break it down for everybody because you may not be able to recognize specifically what it is within your dynamics that you may be impacting your children. But just before we get started, like I'm very hard as a parent. Like I'm hard on myself, not as a parent to my kids, but I'm very hard on myself how I want my children raised. And I know a lot of people would say, you know, hey, chill, it's okay. You don't need to be that hard on yourself and him, you. But I honestly believe that it is the best thing that I've ever done for my children and for myself is to recognize when I'm like, ooh, that's not right. I shouldn't be doing that. Or this is going to impact them because it will impact them. Even if it's small, I'm going to be hard on myself. You know, we talk about how shame is a drive for change. I have that when it comes to parenting, and I don't think that's a bad thing.
No, you've always been incredibly hard on yourself as a parent, and there are worse things you could be hard on yourself about. This is rather serious.
It is serious. And I know that we talk about a lot with spouses, like take care of yourself, focus on yourself. If you're not allowed, or if you don't feel like you know how to focus on yourself and you have children, focus on your children. Because a lot of the times in these relationships, we are focused so much on our partner and what they're doing and how they're showing up and what they're handling that we end up getting involved with that more too. And then we're not showing up for our kids, which is the most important thing in our lives. So if you can't think about yourself, think about your kids. And that's like a huge frame. And that's a huge reframe in how you think and you show up within your home.
Yeah. And starting at a really young age too, they begin to pick up on these things.
Yes.
I was watching something recently. It was really interesting. There was a study that was done on like infants, like children. I say infants, they're like toddlers, right? Like not even quite verbal, I don't think. And when someone came into the room that had an attitude or they had a presence to them that was
like walking on eggshells, very uncomfortable,
argumentative.
Yes.
The child responded like immediately to that. Mm-hmm. Stopped making eye contact. Kind of got cagey and closed off.
Got into their shell.
They cocooned.
Yes. I saw that.
They pick up on the energy and the presence of that. And then again, we cannot control other people. We can control the environment that they're in and the people that they're around to some degree, but how we respond is also just as important to that. A lot of the stuff that we pick up from our parents is heritable, but genes are not destiny, right? They make things maybe more likely, but we have the ability to make choices every single day that can make changes in our lives. It's not just genes, right? So when we talk about addiction, we know how important the environment is. When we talk about maybe some of your own tendencies, whether you're anxious or even like when it comes to attachment styles and stuff like that, like how you respond in relationships, like codependent type behaviors, which we don't use that word too often around here. But this stuff is trained and learned, and we are teaching them. We are the ones that are teaching them. And so if you want better for your children, start to be better for your children. Start to give them better than you had. Start to make decisions to put them in environments and situations that are better. That's all we can do as parents. And that is a tough conversation because we know what that means for a lot of people. It means that they cannot be around their father. It means that they cannot be around their mother, whoever's explosive and angry all the time, throwing things, causing fights. Kids are watching this stuff, y'all, and this will come out in them. This stuff comes out. Kids today, I would argue, have never had it harder than any other generation. For as much as we think they have it easy, it is really, really hard to be a kid these days. They are encountering things that we never did. Like they're the way.
It's scary to go to school.
Yeah, scary to go to school. Let's talk about that. Just the safety alone of being a kid these days. But not just that, but we talk about it's tough enough being part of like a high school or a middle school and the social scene of all that. But now it's all online and it follows them perpetually. It's all of the time right in their faces. And we talk about, online bullying and stuff like that. It is tough to be a kid, and the speed and velocity at which trends change and the stuff you have to keep up with. It's a lot. Okay. It's a lot.
Absolutely.
If there's one thing that we can do to really benefit our children is to give them a stable home, is to give them stable, safe parents to be around.
Yep.
So tough conversation to have right here, because a lot of you are in situations that don't have that. You're exposing your children on a daily basis to stuff that you would never want them to be exposed to. In an effort to save your marriage, you are exposing them to, like, they're the collateral damage of all of this. And it does have effects. I'll give you some stories from my own upbringing about what this was like in my home, and how this shows up. I mean, we've seen it in emails and posts and things like that from parents that listen to the show and what their kids are going through. It's really, really tough. I mean, mental health issues at a young age already are starting to show up. And I have to wonder how much of this is being driven by the instability that they're being exposed to on a daily basis.
Right. And the difference between Matt and I is that I'm a child of divorce. My parents got divorced when I was 11. And I don't think it was a terrible thing. Sure, there were some hard things that I had to go through as a child because it's scary when that happens. But as an adult, I learned that it was the best thing to happen for my family. So I want to be clear, that we do have experience when it does come to co-parenting. Like, my parents co-parented like bosses. They did a really good job. And also, like, I turned out okay, from that, because a lot of people are scared to remove themselves from the marriage or whatnot because they don't know how it's going to impact their kids.
Great point. And by contrast, I was a kid in a family where there was a lot of dysfunction, but my parents tried to stay together and figure it out. And I have to wonder, would it have just been better if they didn't try that, because of all the dysfunction that I was exposed to on a daily basis, and a lot of the patterns that I picked up that affected me in our marriage, and some of the ways that I parent my kids, because that's what I was exposed to. We are not what we hope to be. We are not what we say we want to be. We are what we do. We are what we ultimately do and what we show our kids. So just like that moment when we're playing basketball and I see my son looking at me for how to react, I don't see them whenever we're having arguments, but I know that they're watching us and they're hearing how we respond and watching how we talk to each other and the words that we use and our body language and everything else. And we set the tone for how they will also deal with their significant other one day. Yeah. How they fight and how they make up, every freaking bit of it.
Right. So I just want to, let's get into how our phones impact kids.
Let's do that.
I want to talk about how our phones impact kids, and also kind of along the lines of, like, if you're a workaholic type person, it could kind of go hand in hand with this, because a situation happened with us yesterday, I believe. We were actually working in the studio having a conversation, and both of our kids come up to the studio, and I know their body language, and I know when they feel like, I feel neglected, I need attention, you guys are talking about work, we're here, this needs to be more important. And I felt the urge. It was like an immediate gut reaction I need to get up and get out of here and not have this conversation. I need to go spend time with my kids, because I know that that's going to impact them over time because they feel neglected. It's the same thing goes with our phone. If you're sitting there on your phone and they're having a conversation with you, they're trying to compete with you and your phone. Like, we get addicted to our phones so bad. And then we're just like stuck on it. And they're like, hey, can you hear me? They're literally watching us, and they're going to learn that behavior over time, and they're going to do it later on and not be able to listen to their own kids. They feel neglected. Like, our phones literally make our children feel neglected. I don't want my kid to feel neglected. That breaks my heart.
No. And you think about how glued we are to our phones. We're also showing them that that's what you do when you're bored in a lot of ways. They will pick up on that stuff. I know that as a parent, in a lot of ways, like an iPad or a phone is a hack whenever you're trying to just eat dinner.
Ooh, I'm so glad you brought this up.
And so we start at young age. We start them younger and younger on, like, here, take this so I can just give me a freaking 30 minutes to eat this meal in peace.
We did not do that, though.
Mm-mm.
No, I was going to bring up the point of whenever our children, when we would go out or at our home, phones were not allowed at the table because I wanted this to be a time where we would have to have conversations and connect and all that. And if we go to restaurants and they're toddlers and they're on their phones or on their tablets all the time, they're still not having that connection. I know they're hard. Toddlers are hard. It's really challenging. We didn't go out very often because we had toddlers. But when we did, I accepted the fact that this was going to be challenging. So Matt and I would basically tag team. Like I would be sitting there still eating and feeding one kid while you take the other kid, walking them around, or vice versa, whatever.
I remember when they were little bitty, I would sit down and like we would order and I would eat my dinner like I was in prison and I was scared someone was going to steal it from me. I would just hoover it as fast as I could.
Yes.
And then I would get the kids and go do something just to give you a little bit of time.
Yeah, it was really nice. I really appreciated that. But I didn't want to distract them. I remember we went to a restaurant. It was probably like Olive Garden or something, or Chili's, that has like the little game things sitting on the table. And I was the mean mom. And I'm like, you're not playing that. I'm setting this aside. I remember I got mad at you because you started like playing with it. I'm like, no, I'm trying to teach them a lesson. Damn it. This is where I hold on really tight when it comes to parenting. But I think it's been very beneficial in our household because our kids know not to sit at the table and have their phone. Like we don't want them to make it a distraction. We want them to be connected. And they learn that from us. Like I don't want to have my phone out when I go to the restaurant. I don't want you to have your phone out. You used to have the excuse of I've got work and which I understand, but still in a way it's like we need your undivided attention because these kids are not going to be here forever. You know, we get them for like 18 years and they're going to be on their own and building their own lives. Let's make it's temporary. All of these things that we have to sacrifice as parents, it's temporary, you know, just do your thing.
Yeah. Phones are a tough one too. Recently reached out to some different businesses that offer devices and apps and things like that to help limit screen time. I use one of these things and I love it and it's helpful. It keeps you present, keeps you away from like the doom scroll. Like social media apps are designed to be addictive. Like they are in the business of addiction. They really are. Like Absolutely. They sit around, app developers, and the conversations they're having are, how do we keep people on this thing longer? Like they're literally designed to do that. And you think about coming home and your kids are there, and that's the time that we need to be having conversations with them and like asking how they're doing in their studies and what's going on in your lives, or like going out back and like throwing the ball around, whatever it is that we need to be doing with our kids. You think that 30 minutes or an hour doesn't matter, but it does. It does. It absolutely does. Or if you're texting when driving, like they're going to pick up on that. And what do you think they're going to do whenever they're 16 years old? Because they saw you get away with it. They're going to try the same thing. And God forbid, like it's dangerous. They can have an accident. I am an adult the same way a tomato is a fruit. I saw that meme and I'm like, oh my God, that defines me perfectly. Like I still don't feel like an adult a lot of the times. And I think it's wild that we have kids and I have to be like the
adult,
like the adult,
the one in charge. I got to make decisions.
Because growing up, it's like you just always counted on someone else to take the lead and make those kinds of decisions.
And they did a great job.
Yeah, right. But here we are, like we're the adults now. And if you're listening, like all of us, we are the adults now. Like we have to set the standard. It doesn't matter what we grew up with. Like I know all of us want better than what we had for our kids. Every single one of us. And we have to start doing that right now. And phones is a big one. Kids know when you're not present. Even if they know even when you're a little more interested in what's going on your phone than them. Like, like I can stop mid email or replying to a comment or something like that. Cause one of the kids will ask me a question and I'll have my phone in my hand and I know that they know that I'm still not 100% engaged. Mm-hmm. They know.
Yep. We need to give them eye contact when we actually have conversations with them. I think about times that maybe you pick up your phone whenever you're just walking to a checkout line or something like that. And you're just like, oh, I'm just doing this. You're avoiding, you're just like trying to stay busy. We're teaching them that there's not any interaction in real life that's normal. Like you're avoiding things. You're just like, it's a habit that you just come to do. And they're going to end up doing that too. I recognize our kids doing that sometimes when they're walking around or doing something, they're on their phone. And I'm like, get off your phone, like stop. I mean, our kid will come up to the door as he's walking in the door, holding his phone in his hand as he's looking at stuff. And I'm like, did I teach him that? He probably recognized that from somebody, or it's just the addiction.
Nature of addiction in phones.
Yeah.
I grew up, my dad was always on his phone. He was a freight broker and it was nonstop all day, all night. He had a phone. Like he never missed our games, but he had a phone on his ear the entire time. And so as I was growing up, I looked at it like, well, these are just the sacrifices that you have to make and it was totally cool in my home. So I'm going to do the same thing.
No, you're not.
Paige was totally not cool with this. And this was like a point of tension between us for a very long time.
Yes.
It's like, I have a job. Like, I'm the only one that works here. Like, I have to do well in this job. Like, we have bills to pay. Like, I want to move up. We have to do things. I have to, build this company. I fought it, but I didn't really have to fight it, because what we found out was that delegation, designing your company the right way, doing things differently than maybe my dad did, has allowed me a lot more time off the phone, especially in the evenings.
Yeah.
If I'm on my phone, it's generally because I want to be, not because I have to be. The amount of times, like if I was going to split it into a pie chart, the sliver of time that I have to be is probably 10% versus the 90% that I want to be, that I'm just picking it up.
Yeah. But I know we went, I don't know, it was the first few years, I guess, of our kids' lives that was an issue. And I just think about it. I'm like, this is only like 10 minutes. You can get on the phone to have a conversation at some other point. Like, you're not going to be, I'm not asking you to stay off of it for the rest of the night. It's like, we're here, we're at dinner, we're having a, connection. It can wait, basically.
Let's just say, like, kids can be really annoying. I'm just going to be honest. Like, as a parent and I love children in general, I especially love my own children. Kids can wear you out, man. Maybe you've got one that just asks question after question after question, or they cannot let a moment of silence pass without saying something or asking, do you remember this or that? And sometimes, like, your nerves are thin and you don't have the patience for it. Every parent has been there before. That's part of what being a parent is. And generally, when I get mad about that, it's because I'm distracted by my phone or something else. There are sometimes I'm just
thoughts too.
Yeah. Like what am I ruminating about? What am I thinking about? This problem that I cannot solve right now, but is just living in my mind.
Or what do I have to do? Just the overload of having things to do. And you're sitting there like, oh, I've got all this going on. And then you just get really,
Yeah. And some of the biggest guilt and like the most shame I've ever felt is whenever my kid knows that he's annoying me because my phone's more important.
Yep.
That's the worst feeling in the world, where they just like, oh, I'm sorry. I know that you were like, no, dude, like, you're the most important thing in my life. Like, I'm a dick. I'm sorry. I wish I just not have the problem.
I think that we all learn, and we're all going to go through these things, but it's how we deal with the problem that is beneficial. And we'll get to that in just a minute. Let's talk about how our emotional reactions impact kids, because we all know intuitively, like, we know that our emotions definitely impact kids, but I just kind of wanted to break it a little bit more, because whenever you have certain emotional reactions, they're learning from that. They're learning how you're responding to everything. If you're yelling, if there's a lot of sarcasm, if there's major silent treatment, if you're shutting down, if there's that explosive anger that we've talked about, or even emotional withdrawal, they're going to pick up on that, and they're going to learn that that's normal and that's acceptable. And that is how a home is supposed to be, ran. And don't get me wrong, we all have these moments, right? I'm talking about consistent. Like, we've had yelling in the house. It's very rare though. It's not like every day. We don't have like rage. We don't have aggressive. We're not slamming things. We're not throwing things. Like, I can't remember the last time either one of us had just like an angry outrage.
I can't either.
Like,
I couldn't even tell you when
honestly,
it was.
I feel like our home has been extremely stable to where, yeah, of course, there will be moments like, guys, we're not perfect. I'm going to throw that out there. We've talked about that multiple times. We're still learning as parents, but I do know that we create a safe and stable environment for our children so that they can hopefully benefit in the future. But anytime that if you're constantly yelling, any type of reaction, they are going to hold on to that, and it is going to impact them way more than you think.
And we've talked about like the breakdown of relationships and like the phases that you kind of go through, where in the beginning, you're trying to be helpful, you're trying to learn, you're trying to understand, and then you get a little resentful over time when you haven't seen changes. And at some point you fall into contempt for your partner, which is when you just become dismissive and you're rolling your eyes. You don't take anything they have to say seriously. There's a lot of like jabs and sarcastic like cut downs that are thrown back at them. If you're at this point, this is like danger zone for kids. This is how they're learning to treat their partner when they have a disagreement, is by getting petty and really disgusting remarks thrown at other people.
They're learning what love is, or how love looks in that way.
Yeah. And I think about how this showed up even in our own relationship. I came from a house, guys, that was like capital D in dysfunction, where I had a parent that was incredibly petty and argumentative and explosive and unstable in every single way. And I was old enough, I was like a teenager, like 12 to 13 when this really got bad. And I was old enough to know that I didn't want to be like that because I was on the other receiving end of it so often that I hated it. But there were also parts in it. That's how I learned how to argue. And that's how I learned how to solve disagreements. And that was the kind of words I would use. So instead of having a calm, like normal discussion about how we're going to solve this problem or how what you did hurt me and this is how I express myself, it was always done in like, let me slam dunk on your head and try to tear you down and make you feel as small as possible. And it was abusive. It was just toxic abusiveness. That's how I learned how to argue. And that marked the first probably decade of our relationship, was me talking to you in that way. And you're the opposite. You were very sweet and mild tempered. You weren't exposed to that.
No.
For as much problems as your parents may have had, they didn't show you guys that this is how you treat other people.
Oh, no. I had a pretty stable home, even blended family.
Yeah. So here we have an A/B test where you can see this. And so again, I will ask you to really consider, what are they seeing whenever you guys disagree? How are you talking to your spouse? Are you at the point where you're at contempt and you're just being hateful to them? And like, that's a really awkward place to be in too as a kid, because as much as my mother may have hated my father, I loved both of them. No one wants to see their parent cut down. Like, you think that they hung the moon. It's not a fun place to be. Like, we're training hate in some ways, and that will be how they show up in relationships. And I don't think it's coincidence that kids that come from those types of homes also have problems in relationships. This is the model that they had. This is what they were shown. These are the examples that they had to go off of.
Right.
And even if you want to be different, some of that stuff is so ingrained in you and trained in you, because oftentimes that parent's also difficult to deal with the children as a result of dealing with that person that, put them in that place. But still, like, they're going to be on the receiving end of it too.
Yeah.
And they're going to be talked to that way. They're going to be treated that way. They're going to be dismissed. They're going to be invalidated. All this stuff is going to come up.
Yeah.
The more exposure you have.
Yeah. And let's say that you have a child who has some behavioral issues and they may be acting out aggressively and may not, and you just can't get them to calm down, but you're just like, calm down, just calm down, just calm down. Telling them to calm down is not going to get them to calm down. They learn by watching you learn how to calm down and what you are doing and your coping mechanisms and how you are regulating. They're going to pick up on that, and that's how they're going to learn how to calm. And that sounds really challenging, because you're like, oh, damn, I've got some work to do, because we think it should be easy to say, calm down, but if we can't even calm down ourselves, they're not going to know how to calm down. They're going to learn by how we do that.
Yeah. And that will look a little different for everyone. But I know for us, like, especially early days when I was like really, really invested in like 12-step, and I would go to meetings and stuff like that. And like, I remember having conversations with them about why I do that. It helps chill me out. This is how I cope with life. Dad has a problem with alcohol and drugs, and this is how I become a better parent, by going and listening and like really reflecting, or like exercise for both of us. Like, they've seen the benefits of how we do that to cope. That one was a hard one for our kids, for me, when I first started working out. Because you've always worked out since the kids were born, basically. I didn't start really having a routine until they were much older. And it was a big shift in our house, because it was like, oh, mom's working out. Oh, dad's working out. Oh, no, who's going to pay attention to me now? So they felt a little bit left out. And that was really challenging for me. And that's why it's challenging for a lot of spouses too, to take care of themselves first, because they feel like they're neglecting their kids. Especially when they're little. Yes. But the reality was like, it's only 30 minutes, guys. I'm just going to get this done. I'll be there in a moment. I promise it's not a reflection of you, but mom needs to get this done so that I can be better for you guys. I can't be there for you guys if I'm not there for myself. And over time, they got used to it, and they're fine with it. They know it's part of me now and part of my routine. And I'm showing them good, positive, coping skills and healthy routines. But it was challenging at first, Mm-hmm. Yeah, your emotional reactions will become the blueprint that they use to develop their own emotional reactions. Like, we are the thermostat. This is, I think, a great time to plug the community. If you didn't know, we have a free Facebook community, totally free. Go to our website, twfo.com, and click on the community button there at the top on the banner, and you can get into our free Facebook community. And one of the things that we really, really push people to do is show us what you're doing for self-care. And for a lot of people, it's exercise. And this just reminds me, some of the funniest photos I've ever seen is when you've got a mom who doesn't have a lot of help, and they're exercising, and like their kids will be like on the floor with them.
Yes.
Like, as they're getting something done. And like, sometimes
Or you
mamas,
use them as weights.
Yeah. Use them as weights. Like sometimes mamas, that's what you have to do in those early days to try to balance those two lives when you've got little kids that need you nonstop. And then you've also got you that you also need to take care of. But it's a great place to show other people what you're doing. And I think it's amazing because what you're also showing them is that it's possible, no matter what's going on in your life, it is possible to take care of yourself and kind of involve your kids in some ways too. And we've seen parents that take their kids for walks with them and do certain things with them. I know Paige has exercised with our kids.
Mm-hmm.
It's really awesome, but that's the place to do it. It's not just a community to show self-care. It's also a place to learn and to feel seen, to feel validated, and to feel heard for probably the first time ever. You're going to read stories in there and connect with people that will become some of the greatest friends that you've ever met in your entire life. And you will feel like you're not alone for maybe the first time ever. So check it out, twfo.com. And while you're on the website, we've also got merch. We just got some new beanies in. They're not on the website yet, and they probably won't be up at the time this goes live. But keep an eye out on our Instagram stories, and we will let you guys know whenever they do come up.
Yay.
Shout out to the people that pushed us to do that. It only took me 2 years, but finally got them done.
I need workout gear too. And a lot of people have asked for that. And I just haven't, life is lifing.
But you can find out about merch and all that stuff on our website, twfo.com. We've got recovery rocks. Oh, here's one right there. It's got our logo on the front and on the back. It says, "Thank you for being my rock." These are so cool. This is a really cool way. It's a way to acknowledge the journey that your spouse or partner has walked with you through addiction. If you're someone like me, I got a lot of recognition. Everyone's always congratulating me, and I got ticker tape parades, and everyone's always asking how I'm doing. No one's ever asked how Paige was doing. They don't. And so we want to turn that around. At the very least, you can do that. And that's a really cool way to show them that you see them and you care. Hey, if you think our merch is ugly, for instance, but you still want to contribute to the show, click on the link in our social media profile. You can buy us a cup of coffee, like $1, $5, whatever. I don't know what coffee costs these days. It's gotten more expensive, like everything else. But you can do that. You can contribute in some way. You can give as much or as little as you want. And if you give nothing, we still love you all the same. Just appreciate you guys being here.
Yep.
That's all.
Thank you. Okay. So you touched on this a little bit earlier, but I wanted to maybe elaborate it on more on. That didn't make sense. I wanted to elaborate more on this.
Podcasting's hard.
Talking is hard, apparently. But how you treat their other parent is the loudest lesson. How you treat me and how I treat you is going to be so important in how they grow up and find somebody, right? And how they show up in their relationships or whatnot. Like you said, being dismissive and all of the things that go along with that, like they're picking up on that and they're going to acknowledge that and internalize that. And that's just going to be, that's what they think that love is. And that breaks my heart, because I think with us, our kids recognize there's a lot of love here. We know how to have conversations that are beneficial, that are productive, that are open and honest. But we're very affectionate in front of our kids, Yeah, we'll mess around with each other and maybe call each other names sometimes, but it's all in fun and games, right?
Fun, yeah.
It's not anything that's like,
it's playful. It's
not scary. I don't feel like they're not like walking on eggshells around us and the way that we treat each other. I hope that we are providing something for them to grow old with and recognize that that's what love looks like.
Yeah, kids are going to pick up on a multitude of signals for what they want in a relationship. This can come from social media, God forbid. This can come from TV shows. But the most intimate connection they will have to it is what is in the home. And so when I think about kind of talking about standards here, right? Like the standards for a relationship, your son or daughter is going to in some ways set the standard for the bar for a relationship based on what they saw in their own home growing up. Because they will know that like if you guys made it work, but it was dysfunctional, then that should be something that I could aspire to, or at the very least, like something that is I can tolerate, which I don't think you would ever want that for them, right? On the other side of that, if you guys are being really ugly all the time and like you're fighting and like you're saying horrible things to one another, and maybe this explosive arguments and there's physical abuse and the police are out there on a regular basis, like they will come to see that as standard. Like this is normal. Like this is a bar. You have set their bar in some ways. And so when I think about like our own kids, like I like to think that we set a rather high bar for them. Mm-hmm. So whenever they go searching for a mate in their lives, they will know what they're after. And I think that you attract what you are in a lot of ways. Like you set the standard and you kind of attract those types of people. I would like to think that they're going to attract people who have those same kinds of values and those same standards. And it's going to be better than the alternative in a lot of ways. So like, yeah, we set the tone. We set the tone for that. the way that we talk to each other, the way that we disagree, the way that we resolve fights, the way that we listen to one another. And I think that we're really always really open to about problems that we've had with one another. Like we don't bad talk each other. We defend one another. Like I support you, you support me. I can just think of a million instances where something's been going on in the house. If it's a disagreement between me and you, or maybe between you and one of the kids, how that's always resolved out in the open.
Yes.
Like it's resolved out for everyone to see. It's like a freaking hibachi grill, man. We're making it right here for everyone to see. It's not being done behind closed doors so that kids don't begin to understand that like silence is how you fix problems, or they don't, or worst case, maybe they don't know how to fix a problem because you're not letting them in on this is how this works. Like in a lot of ways, like kids, like we're workshopping them. We are trying to show them it's like training for life, right? So we're training them for how to respond in their own relationships. And so if you're fixing problems behind closed doors in a really dysfunctional way, and you never show them even what that looks like, they're not going to know what to do in their own lives with their friends, with the first people they start to date, or in their marriages one day. They're going to be figuring this crap out on the fly. But something we've always done is like let them know, like, yeah, like we disagreed and I've taken responsibility for things out in the open in front of my family. You have also done the same.
Yeah. And we call each other out whenever we feel like the other partner isn't showing up as a parent like they should. You know, like if you're on your phone or something, Matt, come on, we're here. We're available. Like your children are right here. We're trying to have
something. Been called out for that more than a few times. And it's embarrassing. And I'm like, I'm sorry guys, she's right.
But I've been called out as well. I've been called out for being overstimulated and short and ugly, like just being very, bleh, you know, just like not very kind. And you'll call me out in front of the kids as well. But we do it in a way where it's like, okay, I'm going to take that and I'm going to do something about it. It's not like, oh, how dare you say something to me? That's messed up. It's like, no, I'm going to do something about this. I'm going to fix this. Thank you for calling me out. Like, you're right. I'm wrong.
And we do the same thing with them as well. And they will do it to us.
I love it when they call us out.
Yeah, they will do it with us too. But I think it's letting them know at a very early age that like you have a say in your relationships and that like you have a seat at the table to have conversations. There are going to be some things where it's like, yeah, dude, you got to do homework. Suck it up. Get over it. But there are other things, like especially when it comes to the emotional discussions that we have and like how we handle disputes and things like that and take responsibility. That stuff is like, that's a two-way street in our home. And I want them to know that that's how their relationship ought to be working, all of their relationships.
How we react to them challenging us is going to be how they look at challenging the world in general.
Yes, man.
So if they're challenging us, which I encourage them to challenge us, I think it's great opportunity for growth. We acknowledge it and we're like, okay, what can we do about this? Not all the time, like you said, you know, like with homework or whatnot. But there are certain things that they'll call us out on and we'll be like, okay, I need to do something about this. They're recognizing that, okay, it's safe to challenge. It's safe to speak up. It's safe to say what I want to feel or how I feel.
Advocate for myself.
I can advocate for myself because they're not losing their mind because I'm challenging them. They're not getting defensive. They're not being mean back. They're not telling me to shut up. I'm the parent. You're the kid. You know, I do say that on some things, but not like in a bad way.
Every parent has to reserve the right to use that every once in a while. It's at a fun way.
We do it at a funny way. But anyway, I learn a lot from my kids. I learn a lot from them challenging me and I accepted it and I acknowledge it. And I think that's important because you're teaching them it's okay to challenge things.
Yeah. And we're also holding them accountable. Like, I think one of the worst things that maybe I had growing up was just this authoritarian that told me just because. And so I grew up challenging authority, but I never grew up taking accountability because I never saw anyone else doing that in my home. My mother, I don't think has ever taken accountability for anything. So why should I? Like grown-ups don't do that. I've never even seen that. Show me where that even happens other than movies or something.
No, they're meant to be controlling and authoritative and all those things and not.
But when it came to our children, I really wanted to see them I wanted to show them what accountability really looked like. Mm-hmm. And that goes both ways, you know, but what it also means for the children is that like, you see me do this, I am the leader here. I'm showing you what to do and I expect you to do the same. So it becomes, I think anyway, this is my opinion on this, easier to hold your children accountable when that's something that they're seeing all the time. It's not like a foreign or alien conversation to them whenever you're telling them like, you said you would do this and you didn't do it. And here's the consequence. They're like, damn. Yeah, that makes sense. It's not like, no. And they have a million hypocritical ways of throwing it back at your face because you're consistent with it. Like this is us showing them how to operate within relationships. Mm-hmm. And so we've presented what I think is a fairly healthy way of doing this. But again, like run that case study against your own life and what that looks like in your home right now in this very moment. If you've got someone who's struggling with an addiction and they're rather immature emotionally, what kind of interactions are you guys having? Are you even able to advocate for yourself? What does it look like whenever you try to speak up for yourself? And what kind of response are you getting back? Like, I'm not trying to beat anybody up here. This is a really delicate conversation. I'm not trying to shame anybody or anything like that, but like, you are responsible for that. You're responsible for what they're being exposed to. And it's not an easy decision to make. And there are ways to limit the exposure to those kinds of things. There are ways to begin to learn how to help communicate in a more healthy way. But for some people that are just holding on, like my parents did, to nothing, like, why are you two even doing this anymore? Like, why are you still holding on? Like, this thing has been totaled for a decade.
It was very confusing, I think, for you to see the back and forth. And like, it was wild the way that it worked.
That was nuts, man.
Had to be super confusing for
incredibly
a child.
Confusing. Yeah. And I think it's
instability. Yeah.
I don't think it's any mystery at all why I had a lot of the problems that I had as a young adult. Mm-hmm. It was because that was my model. That was my model. So what are we modeling for them?
All right, let's talk about being present and how it's not the same as being involved.
Mm-hmm.
Or just being there is not the same as being involved. Just being in the house, like you might have a partner who comes home, sits on the couch, drinks the rest of the night, and will claim, well, I'm here. I'm doing, what you need me to do. I'm here. I'm sitting here. I see the kids. I watch them, but are they really present? No, they're not actually there. They're actually away in la la land. They're not being involved. They're not interested in what their children are doing, having conversations with them, doing homework with them, sitting and making eye contact with them. Like, it's not the same as actually being involved in their lives. And kids know. They see that. They recognize that.
Having a heartbeat in the room does not qualify you as being involved.
No. Be present. Do things. Step up. Take them to their extracurricular activities. Just be involved. Being present is not the same.
Yeah, and I've talked about this in my episodes, Mindset Mondays, and I've talked about like what it really means to be an involved dad and what it means to be an involved husband. And like, you ought to know your kids' teachers' names. You should know what they have coming up on their calendar. You should know about what tests they have. Like, anytime there's a teacher's in need of some kind of supply or something like that, like I usually beat Paige to that. Like, I'm donating to the PTO. Like, I want to be involved with them. In some ways, like, I have a son, right? And I want my son to know how to treat his wife one day and how to be involved with his own children one day. I am setting the standard right now for what I would expect of him and what he should expect of himself. And hopefully what his wife can expect of him one day. And I think on the other side of that too, we don't talk about it as much, but it is equally as important how our daughter will treat her husband one day.
100%.
How, like, I think that boys oftentimes are told how to treat women.
Uh-huh.
Women are taught how to treat men, but more in response to how they're treated.
Oh,
Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
But how should you show up with your own values in a relationship? And how do you show love? How do you show affection?
Right.
How can you take accountability and responsibility for your disagreements and things like that? I run in a different circle online. A lot of times I get thrown into this algorithm where it's just angry men. And one of the things that comes up all the time is that, like I was always taught how to treat women, but I'm not sure that my ex-wife was ever taught how to be in a relationship with a man. And I would like to think that you do an incredible job at modeling healthy dynamics as a woman in a relationship.
Thank you.
I think you do an incredible job. And I think that she knows that respect is a two-way street.
Yes.
Admiration and involvement's a two-way street.
Correct.
Every bit of that.
Yeah. I want my kids to have standards. I want my daughter to have, standards and boundaries and all these things. But I also want her to know what respect looks like. And,
kindness.
Yes. I've been very open about this. I thank you for everything. I thank you for taking the trash out. I thank you. And it's not even like it's my job or whatnot. I'm just thanking you for doing things because I appreciate it. I would thank my child for doing it too, because I'm showing them what it looks like and how to be respectful. I get excited when you come home. I'm pretty affectionate with you. I like to know what you're interested in. I'm interested in you, and I want my daughter to do that. I want her to be available I want her to learn how to do that.
Yeah. Honor, respect, love, admiration, kindness, all of these things that we think are kind of givens, but in a lot of ways, like, they're going to pick this stuff up from us. Mm-hmm. So if these things aren't happening in your home, like, how can we really expect them to do much different?
Right.
I mean, they are independent agents of us. Okay. Don't get me wrong. And they are going to have some of their own ideas about what to do and what not to do. But the baseline, like the foundation of this starts in our home.
Yeah, it does. So we talk about being high agent people a lot. That's kind of high
agency.
Thank you. I cannot talk today.
It's tough when you got a microphone in front of your face.
No, sometimes I'm good. I'm all right. Today I'm just not on fire. But anyway, we talk about being high agency people just in regular everyday life. But I want to, what does it look like in parenting? So there's so many times where we blame our jobs, we blame stress, we blame our workload, we blame the way that we were grown up, like in our childhood, we blame all of our reactions on stuff like that. But high agency just says, like, I know that I feel this way, but I'm going to show up anyway. I'm not going to blame all of those things for my reactions.
No excuses. It's ownership.
No excuses. It's just that I did that. I sucked at it and I'm going to do better. Like anytime we do something to our kids or whatnot and it hurts their feelings, or whenever we mess up, when we're overstimulated or we're neglectful or whatever, we apologize to them. Like we straight up say, I'm sorry. There's no excuse for that. I'm doing better. I'm going to do better. I'm going to try better. Thank you for bringing that to my attention. That's showing them so much. And it's helpful for you too, because you're taking accountability.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not blaming all of your surroundings. Like there's so many times where I'm just like, I'm overstimulated. And I'm like, I can't blame that. I can't. Then I'll continue doing it. You know, anytime I'm overstimulated.
And you're showing them that when you feel overstimulated,
that's how you
don't
respond.
have to keep showing up.
Right.
It teaches them that the world runs on your feelings, and it doesn't.
Mm-mm.
The world, as an adult, like that is the number one lesson you have to learn, is that the world doesn't care how you feel. It cares how you show up in spite of how you feel. And that is kind of having agency over your emotions to do what you have to do in spite of the way that you feel. Like that is 90% of being an adult, I think.
Yeah.
I don't want to go back to the office after this.
Right.
Gotta do what I gotta do, man.
Right. Yeah. I don't want to do the dishes. I don't want to do laundry. I don't want to do all of these things.
Or in moments when you feel overstimulated and you don't want to have interactions, you don't want to talk to other people, you don't want to go a certain place, you have to do it anyway.
Yes.
And you have to show up and you have to learn how to manage that. And in doing that, you will gain the wisdom that you can now pass down to your own children when they encounter the same thing, man.
Yep. Yeah.
It's tough. I think, especially for dads, it's, again, I know a lot of our listeners are women. And so they're probably on the short end of this deal. They're probably over functioning, doing absolutely everything that they can to make sure that their household stays in order, to make sure that their child has at least one safe parent.
Yes.
One safe parent. But for the very small sliver of guys that are interested in this content, because I know that they're out there, I know that they're listening, guys, you got to get involved. You've got to get involved with your kids. You've got to be a high agency dad, taking responsibility without blaming stress or work or your own childhood or anything else. Like
addiction.
I've been through every single one of these things. I'm telling you, your kids don't care. They care how you're showing up. Context can help. Yeah, sure. They can have empathy, but especially when they're young, like the most selfish person in a room, aside from an addict, is a kid, because children are selfish. Everything's about them, right? But it ought to be. This is why we had children. When they're young, especially, like they need that engagement with us. They have to have that engagement. And like you have a massive influence over them as a father. You're not disposable. You're not disposable. If you are being an abusive POS, I would argue that you are disposable. But for a lot of you, you need to do better. You just need to do better. You need to get involved. You need to get your ass in there and start taking charge and your role in that family and being another parent to those children. Your wife's probably drowning right now. Mm-hmm. And it's not just the right thing to do for her or the kids. It's just the right thing to do in spite of everything else of the relationship and whether or not that's on good terms or not. It's the right thing to do. It is just something we have to do. And your impact matters much more than your intent. I don't know a single dad that doesn't feel bad for being an absent father, but I know just about all of them that don't quite understand that they had the opportunity to have that impact and their intentions mean shit. Your intentions of being a good dad don't mean nearly as much as you showing up to be a good dad. And I think that goes for mothers too. Like we can want to do well, we can wish better, but if you're not doing it, it doesn't really matter. Like intentions don't matter. Impact matters. That's what the kids will remember. That's what our children will remember. That's what I remember. I know that for a fact. I can only imagine my parents wanted better than what we experienced.
Correct.
but they didn't take those necessary steps to make that a reality.
No.
And who gets left cleaning up the mess ultimately will be your kids.
Children. Yeah.
When they're 30 or 40 and they're having falling out in their marriage and they're not really sure how to fix it. Like this stuff started a long, long time ago. While you still have the chance, make that difference, make that impact. F your intentions. They just don't matter. So you have to adjust your behaviors. If you have to adjust your work schedules, if you have to adjust the way that you respond and you react and the way you talk, like get to work on that stuff. Like therapy is a useful tool. Sometimes just taking stock of it all and acknowledging that this problem exists, and then having an intentional conversation with your partner about, I recognize this is the problem. I'm going to start doing these things differently. Help hold me accountable to these things and start showing up differently. Like it can change right now, today. Don't let this be a regret you have. Do not let this be something that you regret whenever you're 75 years old and you realize that you never really had a relationship with your children, but you wanted to. That starts right now.
And I was going to say, if you have, if you need help regulating your emotions or need some extra tips or whatnot, we have the Reclaiming You program for spouses and partners to help you. I mean, so many people in that program have learned how to regulate their emotions, and they're showing up for their kids and they're like really thriving and stuff. And it's really amazing. So if you're interested in that, go to reclaiming-you.com. We have 10 modules, videos and exercises, self-pace. Every Wednesday evening, we have a community support group with Matt and or me, and a group of people who are there to support you. So if you're interested, head on over there.
Also, this is maybe tangential, but I think it's important. If you have had dynamics in your relationship where one parent has been over functioning and you are now going to start trying to come back into that family unit, do not be overbearing about this.
Nope.
Like this was a dynamic that I don't think we ever really talked about, but coming back into the home after addiction, after rehab, working a program and like really trying to get involved again, you cannot be overbearing about it. Like you have to earn that trust back.
Yes.
It takes little by slow. You earn that trust back in baby steps.
Right. Because we have been surviving on our own and trying to figure things out on our own for so long that once you start to come in, it feels like you're stepping on our toes. And it's like, how do you think that you know better than me when I've been doing this for a long period of time?
Yeah. Like you're kind of shitting on their work in some ways. Like trust, we've talked about this before many times. It's lost in buckets and is rebuilt in tiny little droplets, which brings me to SoberLink, was actually, I guess it's a great tool to use for something like this. Trust, building it the old fashioned way, takes a really long time. It's little by slow actions. I think it was Brene Brown. Who's the other author? I get confused with her all the time.
Byron Katie?
One of the two. It was on Diary of a CEO, and she was talking about trust.
Oh, then no, I don't know.
She had this imagery she used. It was this jar of marbles, and she was like, imagine this marbles represent the trust that you have in this relationship, which is the container for the marbles. And then something happens to break that trust, whether it's addiction or just a million times of just not showing up for kids or whatever it might be. And the marbles are all over the floor. You don't just build that back right away. You don't just all dump them back in. It's every single time you're given the opportunity to build trust, that means that you actually come through, and then the marble goes back in the jar. It's one little tiny action after another, and it takes a really long time, especially when it comes to your drinking. Like this is probably a problem in your home if you're listening to the show. You're not trusted around your kids when you're drinking. Maybe you're not allowed to drive your kids anymore. Like there's a lot of people that are going through that right now, but you don't have a welcome seat at the table of being a parent. If you're as serious as you say you are about reestablishing trust in that relationship, especially as it revolves around alcohol, check out SoberLink. You set up a community of people that get notified every single time you use it. So if it's me and Paige here, she would get notified. Maybe our therapist would get notified. Maybe you have older kids and you want them to be in on this as well, so they can begin to trust you again. It's a really great tool to start to rebuild trust so people can see that you're really serious and you're really doing the deal. It's also tamper proof. It has military grade facial recognition technology, so you can't cheat this thing or lie or get around it. And now you can rent these things for little as $19 a month. Like you don't have any more excuses. $19 a month when you sign up for a 1-year plan, you can get this thing going ASAP. And since you're an awesome listener of our show, they'll give you $100 on top of that awesome deal. $100 on top of it. You can use anything you want. Tufo merch, you can use it on Amazon, your bills, whatever the hell you want. You can even apply it to offset the monthly cost of the plan. Soberlink.com/wheels. Soberlink.com/wheels. Get it going ASAP. This is something I don't think that we've talked about a whole lot, but when I really started to integrate myself back into the family, I know that you felt a bit like, get the F out of my kitchen.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
This is my area. This is my territory.
Yeah, because for so long you're over functioning, right? You're really having to hold things down, and you've developed a process that you are obviously proud of and you believe in. Even if it's not perfect, you're doing your best, and you're only failing to the degree that I didn't show up most of the time. It's like I'm having to overfunction, do all this shit, and I've got all these things worked out because you haven't been showing up, and now you want to come in and just rip it all apart, like without even talking to me.
Yep.
Like, it's tough because you do want them involved, and they do want to be involved, and they ought to be involved, but it needs to be done with care and respect and understanding, little by slow, because I have screwed this up. That's why I can talk about it. I've screwed this up more times than I can count, where I come in and she's like, dude, I have this figured out. I have a process and a system for this. What the hell are you doing? You're screwing it all up. Even if I did the right thing, you just have to be considerate of that and understand what you're walking into. It takes a lot to rebuild trust. And again, like, these are the kinds of things that we handle the stuff out in the open. Like, I'm trying to think if there's anything that we just keep close to the vest. Is there?
What, when we talk about
like solving problems or dealing with crap, like our kids.
There are some things, like when it comes to them in particular.
Oh yeah.
Like if it's something that's school related or extracurricular where you and I are not on the same page, we'll discuss that behind closed doors, and then we'll have conversations with them.
But for the most part, we're solving this stuff out in the open.
Pretty much. Yeah, because it's pretty standard stuff. It's not deep, heavy things. I mean, some things, I guess. No, I think we do it out in the open. Maybe
some therapist is going to write us and say that is the worst idea of all time, but I would disagree.
Well, it depends on the problem. I think that if it's something that's,
we're not solving like bedroom intimacy issues out in freaking at the kitchen table.
Use common sense. All right. It's just, yeah, I think that most of the things that we discuss, it's out in the open, but again, if it's personal, we'll go behind closed doors. If it's super heavy, there are some things that we're just like, no, we don't need to discuss that in front of them. But I don't know, man, like we're pretty open about like family problems and issues like that. Like we have conversations. We let them be involved in those conversations.
And it's worth mentioning, this is also age appropriate,
Correct.
right?
Correct.
The conversations we have with them at 8 years old are different than we have with them as teenagers. And as they get a little older, you can start to have different kinds of conversations with your kids. But I think, parenting is something we take really, really seriously, and incredibly
100%.
seriously. And like part of our own recovery journeys, both of us, I mean, I think that the beneficiaries of that will be our children. Like, I'm not just doing this for myself as much as I'm also doing it for my family and my kids, especially, so that they know that, like, when it comes to addiction, especially, that's a really tough conversation that a lot of parents don't know how to have. And
I have very many opinions on that.
There are kind of two camps on this. There's one camp.
We're going to go into this right now.
Just real quick. Yeah,
okay.
It's fun. There's one camp that says none of their business. This is a private matter. This is an adult matter. We're not telling anyone about what's going on. And there's the other camp that's rather open about this kind of stuff. And they want their children to know what's going on and about recovery. What I find is it's generally the people that don't want to work any sort of recovery, that don't want it to be known that they have a problem. And people who are generally working some kind of a recovery process are pretty open about
it. Comes in stages,
sharing
I'm sure.
This, right? Yeah. Like in the beginning, it's kind of weird to come out with this, especially when it comes to your kids.
Right.
Like, how much do you divulge to your children? And like, I was talking to a friend about this actually last week. He's got kids at the age now where they can really understand this stuff. And he's like, how do you even have that conversation? Like, because I think for a lot of guys, like they feel weak, that they couldn't handle their liquor, or they couldn't deal with, they couldn't manage it. And so it's some kind of like a masculine failing for them. And it's a hard conversation to have with sons. It can be as simple as, I suck at drinking, and so I don't do it anymore. It's not good for me. It's bad for my health, whatever it might be. You can even spin it as an allergy. Like, I'm allergic to it. The same way you're allergic to peanut butter, I'm allergic to alcohol. That's an age appropriate conversation I think you can have with like younger children, because they can understand what an allergy is. Yeah.
I just rarely ever discuss it about addiction with our kids. Like, I mean, we talk about it, but it's mainly you've owned up. You're like, I was an asshole. Like, I was a jerk. I wasn't a good person. It wasn't a good time. Yes, there was addiction that was involved in that, but I also want them to understand that it's not acceptable. Like, we never use the disease model.
I've never done that.
We don't do that.
Some people insist on that.
That's fine.
Do what you want.
I have my opinions on that. That's what I'm saying. Like, we're not doing that with the kids, because I don't want them to recognize that is acceptable behavior just because somebody has a disease or somebody has an addiction or whatnot. It's always been about the behaviors and the way that we talk to our kids about it. And it is important, obviously, like, yes, be careful with drinking. Do not take pills from people. You know, we are very like open about what addiction, what it was like, but I didn't use it as a like an excuse. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
It was, I always want them to base all of their values and everything and how they're being treated on behaviors and not because somebody's addicted.
Yeah, because as much as someone may be struggling, like I'll approach this gently, but
Yes.
I think my point is going to be kind of harsh. When someone is struggling with addiction, they are going to show up in ways they wouldn't ordinarily show up. And they're going to do things that are out of character in some ways. And we'll say that they're sick. Like they're not a bad person. They're a sick person. They're a struggling person. But here's what's interesting is that the parent, the healthy parent usually saying this has also dealt with all those same things. And you did not treat people the way that they did. And so it's about behaviors, right? It's like, we cannot use this as a flat out excuse for everything that has happened in that relationship or everything that those children have encountered. That is where we have to be careful about this.
Well, this is how I've always looked at it as well, is that, okay, if somebody is sick and let's say they had the flu or they had something that's contagious, are you wanting to be around them? No, because it's going to spill onto you. It's the same thing with the mental illness. It's the same concept, is that I don't want to be, yes, they're sick, they're hurting, they're not, you know, they've got something going on, but that doesn't mean that I need to expose myself to that and be part of that, because it will get onto me.
Which is a great way. If you're in a situation where you had to get out of a relationship, or if you're contemplating it, that's a great way to teach what boundaries are like. In order to keep yourself safe, I have to set these certain boundaries to keep us all safe. And there's a reason for it. And that's I think about all the success stories that will come from listeners of the show, and we'll get some that look like us. We'll get some that maybe somewhere in between us and healthier, right? But I think some of the greatest success stories will be people that were able to get out and get a healthier situation for their children. You know, even if it's just one healthy parent, getting them to safety. We've opened this up talking about the different experiences we had as kids. And I think that mine was far worse because they did try to figure it out, and they kept us in that dynamic that was incredibly sick, when I would have been better off getting away from that, I think.
Correct.
And those are success stories too. Success comes in a million different forms and shapes and everything else. But those are some of the ones that impressed me the most, because it takes a hell of a lot of strength and fortitude to do that.
A lot.
Like our story is more contingent on the person getting into recovery, and then you having enough patience and then working your own once the
not
dust
being
is settled.
hurt as much. Like,
yeah, the ones that you have control over are those right there. And you're right. That's a really, really great opportunity to like show and display through actions, not intentions, what boundaries look like,
right,
and what safety looks like,
right,
and how you can achieve that no matter what's going on.
Yeah.
Good point. Really good point. All right. That covers it. Thanks for hanging out, guys.
Yes.
Appreciate it. This has been a fun one. Parenting stuff's always interesting to us. We've always been kind of hesitant to do it because our kids could turn out to be maniacs, and I hope not, but
I think they're pretty good kids right now. So
they're awesome right now.
It's okay to have these conversations. We're doing good.
All right. That's all we've got. Until next time, I'm Matt.
I'm Paige.
We'll see you.
Bye.